going there, everybody? This is Samuel Fisher from Green Dispensary Marketing. Glad to be back with you guys again with another guest. Really excited to talk with this lady. Her name is Kenya Alexander. She's the head of Green to Green Solutions, and she's also a fractional CFO. And so she does a lot of accounting work. She does all the counting the money, all the stuff in the back end that most of us hate doing. And so really excited to talk with her. Kenya, how are you doing today?
I am so wonderful. Super happy to be here. Super grateful to talk to you. Yeah, I'm just super excited to hop in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm curious to learn more about you personally. Can you tell me a little bit about your background, where you're from, how you got into the cannabis business?
Yes, so I am a Texan, and my journey has been interesting. I was an insurance agent. One day, the accounting team asked me to if I wanted to join the accounting team. I didn't know anything. I said yes. Didn't know the difference between a credit and a debit. Had no accounting background at all, and learned really quickly because they were in the process of going public. So I got to learn really, really quickly and really kind of fell in love with accounting. Like the whole idea of kind of having structure and control to kind of narrate the story that you're trying to tell about your business was really, really super fascinating to me. After I stopped working there, I started a bookkeeping firm. And one day I was on LinkedIn and someone cold DM'd me and was like, "Hey, have you like considered doing cannabis accounting?" And I was like, "That's a thing? Like who? Like I love weed. Like, why didn't anyone tell me that this is an option for like a career choice?" And so I really just jumped right into the industry because I know the way that cannabis helps me in my actual real day-to-day life. And I thought that this could be my contribution to the industry and making it a good place for all of us.
Yeah, I was gonna actually ask about the book thing. And so that's how you kind of jumped into this. Is you're officially or originally starting off doing books, CFO work for book company. Was it your own book company, or tell me a little bit more about that? I'm curious.
Well, no, it's actually my first business was called The Best Kept Book because it was just high end bookkeeping. No, nothing to do with actually book companies.
Yeah.
But it's actually interesting because at one point I did start getting a bunch of leads from writers, and that actually makes sense. I never even intended that to be, but I did work with a bunch of writers at a time, so I guess that makes sense. But I was working with all different types of companies. I really didn't have a niche at that point. So when cannabis, it came the opportunity to actually niche down and work in the accounting books of cannabis companies. I jumped on that.
Yeah, really interesting. Well, tell me a little bit more about what you do now. So it's Green to Green Solutions, what we call it, right?
Hmm.
What is
Yeah, so
yeah.
we offer fractional CFO services for cannabis businesses. Our primary target is like plant touching businesses because they just have the most complicated issues, the regulations really make the accounting complicated. So that's who we really target, but we also work with ancillary businesses in the cannabis industry, helping raise funds, helping to stay in compliance and manage the whole financial process. So that's what I'm doing now.
So who's your dream client then? So it sounds like you kind of work with really anybody in the cannabis industry that needs help with financial accounting sort of stuff, right? What would be your
Yeah,
ideal
so
client?
my dream client, I work with smaller businesses. I'm a small business myself, so under 5 million in revenue would be my target client. Any state is fine. I really enjoy working with diverse groups in the cannabis industry to promote diversity in the industry. So
Yeah.
a lot of my clients are either minority owned businesses or women owned businesses. I really am. I'm also the DEI chair for the NCIA. So I really am all about just making sure that the entire cannabis community is also represented in the industry.
Let's jump into that. And so what are kind of your strategies for including underrepresented groups, or what would you say?
I think it's to me it's pretty easy. Like hire women, hire people of color, and not just for entry level roles. It can be like there you, to be in the cannabis industry. There are so many different ways to get into the industry. It doesn't just have to be a plant touching entity. So I chose accounting because that's something I was already doing. So hire a black accountant for your
Yeah.
cannabis business, or hire a woman CEO, get women in upper management. I think that women have a unique ability to really foster community
Yeah.
in whatever environments they're in. So if you have women in leadership roles, I think organically the cannabis industry will be diverse because we are going out into the communities and building relationships, and just doing that promotes a more diverse industry.
Yeah, I'm completely behind you there. Do you have a big client success story that you'd like to share with us?
Well, okay, so when I was first getting in the industry, my first client, and it was the most fascinating thing. I suffer from imposter syndrome all the time, and I going into the industry, I was really undervaluing myself and my services. But after I got my first client, I finally got that client, and immediately I was able to recognize in their excise tax returns that they were extremely overpaying. And before even doing any work, just looking over their stuff, I earned the fee that they paid me for the entire year with finding that error on their tax returns. And so I was like, wow, like you can really do this, and it really does pay to have a cannabis specific accounting professional on your team, because we are trained in those things. Where I've gone through uh, multiple courses in cannabis accounting to make sure that I know the things to recognize, and that if I don't have the ability to do that job, that someone in my network has the information that we need. So yeah, like from the beginning, it's just been win after win, and it's been loss after loss sometimes too, but it's been a really, really incredible journey, and I love what I do.
Yeah, really interesting. I think another thing I'd like to talk about, you mentioned briefly a second ago, a few minutes ago, that you also work as a fractional CFO. And so tell me a little bit more about this. For those of us listening who don't even know what that is, fractional CFO. What is that? What do you do? How does that work?
So, in addition to kind of like managing the day to day, I really work on big picture stuff, strategy. How can we present your story about your business in a way that makes sense to anybody? So, it's really using the data and the numbers to inform that story so you can write the story of your business the way that you want to. At the end of the day, the financial story is really important. It may not be the most important thing, but it's important to tell, right? And so we have to make sure that the things that you are doing in the day-to-day business are reflecting on your financial report. And that's kind of what I kind of help with, to see like, okay, big picture, what's going on? How can we drill down and make this big picture look a little bit better? So
Yeah.
it's really having a scope of going in and out of looking at the day to day the business and balancing that with the overall strategy.
Okay, so let's play with this for a second here. So imagine you just got a gig as a fractional CFO for a cannabis dispensary. What's the first thing you're gonna do? What's the first thing you're gonna look at? What's the first thing you're gonna change?
So the first thing I'm going to look at is your books, right? I'll see what is the story telling me already, right? When I look at your when I look at your books, I can kind of tell what's going on in your business. So I kind of direct my questions at that. If there are any balances that look funny, or anything that just isn't making sense with the words that you're telling me, that's the first thing I'm going to do. The next thing I'm going to do is talk to you about the day to day of your business. Like, I am going to get in your business to understand what SOPs you already have in place and what SOPs that we need to implement. Um, and we have priorities, right? So to me, the first priority is just getting a baseline of where we can start from. And that's kind of where looking at your past numbers and your past financial reports, that'll give us the baseline. Sometimes we have to clean it up because the baseline is not clear, right? So that's when we worry about the cleanup. From the baseline, we kind of start making small changes. I don't want to come in and overwhelm the system. So we're making small incremental changes so that we can, number one, see how the small changes we make affect the overall picture, right? I think that
Yeah.
that's the first kind of checkpoint, is when people work with me, I want to start small so that you see how these small changes really can overall like impact the overall pictures. And then we just keep implementing SOP after SOP so that you're not overwhelmed with all of the changes, but that we are making changes. It's kind of like Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've ever read that
Yeah,
book,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
just changes to that don't cost too much brain space, right? Like I want to make changes, but I don't want it to be hard. I want it to be, it takes effort, but I don't want it to be a hard process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, makes complete sense. I think we were kind of touching upon this topic a second ago. I think one of the big potential issues in the cannabis industry, especially with your line of work, is compliance and kind of following rules. What are your SOPs regarding compliance? Do you have a set list of things that you need to check off, boxes you need to check, or how
So
does that work?
I think that that's the thing in the cannabis industry is it varies state to state, locality to locality, right? So it I have a general SOP that I start off with, but when I work with someone, I'm actually having to go in and check to make sure that we're getting everything right at the state level. Like this is everyone talks about 280E and all of the things with 280E, but before you even get there, you have to be able to renew your license at the state level. And a lot of that starts with state compliances. Those are the people who actually allow you to run a business, right? And so we start with just at the state level, what are the regulations saying about the compliance issues? When do we renew? When do we have to file taxes? What certifications do we need? All of those small things, and then we go down now to the local level. Okay, what's your local tax rate? What are the stipulations on your local requirements? What inspections do you have to have? All of these little things that impact the financial picture and impact how much it's going to cost, number one, to get the license, and number two, to keep the license going. So it it really varies, and there's so much information that you should have someone on your team who specializes in staying up to date with that stuff.
No, yeah, I just want to say, like, a lot of what you're saying regarding all this accounting and financial stuff, a lot of it goes over my head. That's the value of hiring somebody like you, who does know their stuff, does know how to be compliant, does know how to help them out. Do you have anything else you'd like to add on about your services? I have a few more questions.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing to me is making sure that my clients are involved with the process,
Yeah,
because it is a team effort. But I can only do my job as well as the data that I get from you. And so it's never going to be you hire an accountant and they can come in and fix everything, right? It takes buy-in from the team and it takes us working together. And I guess that that's why I really, really value the relationships that I have with my clients. If we can, I live a very stress-free life. I don't want to be stressed. So I like to work with cool ass people who care about what they're doing and who want to do a good job and want to stay in compliance. I don't want to have to convince people to do anything. If I have to convince you to do something, maybe we're not a good fit. But the things that I am implementing are going to be specific to your business and specific to you. It's going to be customized, and I take into consideration what the fuck you're doing, right, and what your vision is for what you're doing. So yeah, I guess that the thing I would have to say is like it's a friendship, it's a relationship, and it's a partnership. So we have to work together, and I think that that's my favorite part of the work that I do is the relationships that I get to build.
yeah. When you can tell that you know your stuff. This is Ken Alexander from Green Solutions. Just got a few more questions for you, little more fun. Can you tell me about the first time you tried cannabis?
Oh my God, it was terrible. It was in high school, and I had just gone through a really terrible breakup. And so my friend invited me over, and he was like, just smoke this. And I was like, okay. And then my parents were calling me. I had to go home. I just wanted to drink milk. I just couldn't stop drinking milk. And then my mom came in. She was like, we're going to give you a drug test right now. And I was like, listen, I'm so high right now. I just cannot even. Like, you don't have to drug test me. Listen, I'm high as shit. Like, there's no need to go through all of this. And it was a whole fiasco. I ended up getting kicked out of my house for the night. It was just a whole big thing. And that's one of the reasons why for a long time I did not have a relationship with cannabis. This has been a new thing since I became a mother is when I really started consuming like in my day-to-day life because of such a traumatic beginning to our relationship.
Yeah, well, people like you show that you can still use cannabis and be a professional, functional in life, and also a good person. Um, it's just great. You're putting a face to it. What's your favorite cannabis product? Do you have a preferred way of consumption? For example, do you prefer
I
oils,
prefer
buds?
flower.
Okay. What's your favorite strain? How about
I
that?
prefer flower. I don't necessarily have a favorite strain. I will
Okay.
like I'm in Texas, right? So I don't have
Oh, yeah.
dispensaries to go to. I don't have like I will like whatever my guy got, like that's what we're going with, right? Like and you try to like what do you have? You try to know, but like at the end of the day, like I don't have a plethora of options, right? So it's kind of I take what I get.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Last question. Knowing what you know, looking into your crystal ball, what do you think is going to happen in the next 5, 10 years in the cannabis industry?
Okay, do you want my like dystopian viewpoint or do you want my optimistic viewpoint?
I'll take whatever you give me, Kenya. So,
All
whatever your
right,
crystal ball is telling you.
my optimistic viewpoint is that I think it's going to have to start with rescheduling. I think rescheduling is going to change a lot in terms of what we can do with this as a plant medicine. I think that that is the way that the cannabis industry is going to go is where we're really looking at this plant as a medicine rather than something that we're using recreationally. And I'm super hopeful that we'll do it the right way, where we are including the perspective of the cannabis community, of consumers, of patients, of everyone who has a relationship with the plant, the growers, the manufacturers, that we're including those perspectives in the regulation and how this is rolling out federally. So like this is just like offhand, if you can, there is still like public comments open to make on the rescheduling. So make sure that like we're putting the voice out there of the cannabis community. And if we want this to be a thing that it's gonna do, we're gonna do it the right way.
Yeah. Once again, this is Kenya Alexander. She runs a company called Green to Green Solutions. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the audience, Kenya?
Yeah, check me out on Instagram too, A Life in the Day of Kenya. And check out my podcast, the Highlight Podcast, where we talk to cannabis industry professionals and connect them with the community. We have new episodes dropping soon. And yeah, I'm excited and I'm super grateful to you for having me on your show.
Yeah, likewise for being here, Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us and wish you all the best.
Awesome. Thank you.